Se você é um empreendedor ou um empresário que tem uma startup ou ainda um profissional liberal que tem interesse de expandir o seu negócio para fora do Brasil, eu estou hoje aqui em Israel para conhecer todas essas novas tecnologias e como transformar o seu projeto, a sua startup, até a sua ideia em um negócio multinacional. Parece difícil, mas vem comigo agora e vamos conhecer todos os detalhes.
Let's talk a little about this place. The Paris Center for Peace was founded by Shimon Peres, pictures right over there, as a non-profitable organization aimed at fulfilling his dream of making the world a better place, or Kunala. Now, in 2014, when Shimon Peres finished his presidency, he decided to come back to this center to leave a legacy or a gift to the world. That's when the Paris Center for Peace was renamed as the Paris Center for Peace and Innovation, where people from here and from around the world could come, see, touch, and learn about how Israel became an innovation nation.
Throughout the world. How did we drain the swamps and make the desert bloom in less than a century? This dream was born of necessity. We faced existential challenges. A barren land, and a need for security. To survive, we had to face these challenges differently and create a new reality. Different ideas, knowledge, and traditions from around the world all came together here to realize a single dream. It required dedication and creativity. In Israel, the impossible needed to become possible. Thus, a new world of innovation was born, creating agricultural advances using 5% land and 95% brain power. Unique security and defense solutions were developed, alongside bold initiatives for peace, inventing our own brand of innovation, forming a cooperative ecosystem of government, academia, and industry to promote new ideas, creating solutions that improve the lives of millions around the world, from early wheat fields to high-tech towers, from defending the home front to frontlining cybersecurity worldwide, from reviving the Hebrew language to writing the new language of coding, all woven together by the thread of Israeli innovation. And it never stops.
I have to say B.
B?
B.
Just B?
Just B,
for 5
yeah.
seconds.
It's a girl! Yes!
You want to hear what makes entrepreneurs tick and how we build up ways.
English.
A long time ago, we were in a family trip with some other families up north, and when it was time actually to go back home, everyone left before we did, and so I started to call them up and try to figure out where traffic jams are, and I actually was able to figure that out, and I decided to choose this path rather than the other path based on the information that I got. And I realized that really in order to bypass traffic jams, or in order to understand where traffic jams are, what we need is someone ahead of us on the road. And only in 2007, May 2007, I met the other co-founders of Waze, Financeira and Joshua, and who at the time built the first system that actually creates the map.
You could develop 30 apps. Come and learn how. When I was 10, I first went to a programming course after school hours with some of my friends and immediately fell in love with the tech world, and more specifically with the creation of mobile apps. So I began learning about developing mobile applications, and that's how I came to learn Steve Jobs. I could very relate to his point of view on this world and to his extraordinary vision of innovating, seeing forward and not being afraid of trying new things. This gave me the drive to develop some of my own ideas into real products. products. Also, I think that the fact that I'm relatively young was a true benefit in creating digital products which are accessible for my generation. I believe that the best way of succeeding in anything is by doing and knowing how to use your personal advantages while seeking for the best.
With the constantly growing amount of data that mankind produces, I saw a way to identify patterns in history. I realized that if I could build an algorithm that identifies the beginning of a pattern, we could predict how the pattern continues probabilistically, and we can predict diseases, crises, riots, and so on. So I started to build a software system based on artificial intelligence that methodologically identifies patterns in history and issues a warning about future events. We put a lot of work into calibrating the system until it actually made its mark. The system predicted events that were about to happen, like the first cholera epidemic in Cuba, genocides, riots in Sudan, economic events, and so on.
Feeling looks like that. That's the sweat on my back. How shall I go back to Israel and tell my guys that I went to New York, I had a problem with my computer?
Also be the greatest challenge of the future. How much food will be needed to feed so many people? How many liters of water each day? How can the outbreak of disease be prevented? And how can we improve human life expectancy? How will we move in a world that is so overcrowded? What will the world be like when most of the jobs of today will be done by computers and machines? And a challenge that is no less important: will we succeed in resolving conflicts peacefully? In making peace between people and nations, between countries and religions, in a world even more crowded and complex than today? In just a moment, we will take you 20 years into the future. There, you will explore solutions to the challenges of tomorrow. Some of the most innovative were born and developed right here in Israel. Ready? Hold on tight. The time capsule is leaving for the future. Billion. That will be the largest number of people in the history of the world.
Something like you said. You talked about the startup nation.
Yes.
You said that there's a percentage of 2%. Can you talk about that and how many startups in Israel? That's very good information.
Around the world, the percentage of startups that actually succeed after 5 years of them actually starting is about 2%. Yeah, 2% of all the startups around the world. But in Israel, we produce about 6,700 startups every year, and 4% of those startups actually succeed after 5 years, which is double what the whole world actually has. The whole world has 2%, we have 4%. And that's basically one of the reasons why we are an innovation nation, because we started with the necessity, because we have 60% desert in Israel, and we have very few natural resources, so we had the necessity for innovation in agriculture, in society and culture, because the Hebrew language started only as a religious language, was reduced to a religious language, and then Ben Yehuda came around and wrote the 7 dictionaries that he started publishing, and then his family continued when he passed away. So it actually talks more about the innovation throughout the years, how we started and how we became an innovation nation. Here we have the replica office of Shimon Peres' actual office. His actual office is actually on the 3rd floor, but we can't go there today, sadly. Now, beside me here I have a cabinet, and all things in here are all authentic, all are from Shimon Peres' personal collection, except for this.
For my grandfather, Rabbi Hirsch Tzvi Meltzer, I felt deep veneration. When we parted on the train platform, my grandfather determined my destiny. Promise me one thing, he said. You'll always be a Jew. When I got to Alumot, I was astonished. Wherever I turned, there was something amazing to see. The Sea of Galilee, sparkling in all its beauty, saplings which would grow to be palm groves. Instantly I felt that I was at the heart of the world. May 48, the name of the ship, Felicia. We need about 4 million in cash, supplies 1 million, equipment 1 million, shells 25 pounds. Kutfutsot Alumot, dear friends, I have appointed Comrade Shimon Peres as Deputy Director of the Ministry of Defense. See Shimon's work as part of the work of the kibbutz and the community. Yours, David Ben-Gurion. The true solution to the defense problem is the invention of arms that aren't available on the market, that can't be duplicated, that will be the source of our true strength in the long run. The hallmark of power is power. My theory is based on this saying. The hallmark of nuclear capability is the power of deterrence, and deterrence, so I believed, is the first step on the road to peace.
הטלוויזיה הישראלית מעריכה כי תוצאות הבחירות לכנסת התשיעית יהיו כדלקמן. מהפך שחל בפוליטיקה הישראלית, מחל ניצחה בבחירות, המערך, תבוסה. עכשיו לתוצאות המדגם שלנו. תיקו. ולת מגיע היום למחוז חפצו הפוליטי.
I went in alone. The gloomy corridor, the stairs to the second floor. Every step brought with it a wave of memories. All the excitement of becoming Prime Minister, the limousines, the entourage, none of them meant anything to me. The first time I truly felt like a Prime Minister was when I sat in the old man's chair.
יש לך פרפרים בבטן היום? לא יודע מה זה פרפרים, יש לי דאגה בלב.
המשק על סף משבר, האינפלציה צוברת תאוצה.
או שאנחנו נתגבר על האינפלציה, או שהאינפלציה תהרוס אותנו. יש בירושלים למאזינים שאומרה. במצב כזה העיקר זה להיות שקט, לראות דברים בבהירות, התחלנו לפעול כדי לצאת מהקטסטרופה הזאת.
הממשלה תתכנס מחר בלילה לישיבה מיוחדת שבה יאושר הסכם העקרונות הראשון בין ישראל לפלסטינים, הסכם שגובש בעת האחרונה במגעים עקיפים וישירים עם הנהגת אש"ף.
In Middle East, that is not a killing field, but a field of creativity and growth.
ממשלת ישראל מודיעה בתדהמה על מותו של ראש הממשלה ושר הביטחון יצחק רבין.
Rabin and I were arch nemesis for decades. But in recent years, we became close partners. 2 men are more than 2, and 1 man is less than 1. When I returned to the Prime Minister's office, I couldn't sit in his chair.
140 אישים מכל העולם משתתפים בשעה זו בטקס הפתיחה החגיגי של מרכז פרס לשלום.
שום עניין פוליטיקאי ושום עניין אחר, אני משרת את השלום. לא חלמתי להיות נשיא. חלומי כנער היה להיות רועה צאן או משורר של כוכבים.
Members of Knesset, we've dealt with territory and not enough with science and technology. The computer takes the place of the sword. There's no reason to spill blood when life can be prolonged. "15 years ago, I returned to Vishneva, where I was born. I stood weeping by the mass grave of the Jews who were burned alive, including Rabbi Tzvi Meltzer, my late grandfather. If only I could whisper to them about our independence, tell them about the IDF, about Dimona, about Entebbe, about the tremendous privilege granted to their grandchildren to make real the oath, never again."
אם אני מסתכל אחורה, אני שואל איזה שגיאה עשית בחייך, החלום שלי היה קטן מדי. אל תחסכו בחלומות. אל תפחדו, תחלמו תמיד בגדול.